Hello and welcome to the Absolute Business Success Show with me, Carol Evans, your business consultant and coach. I've worked in business all my adult life and set up and run a number of my own businesses over the last 15 years. In this show, I'd like to share with you the tips and strategies that have helped me create success in my business and life, as well as those in my clients. In this series, I'm going to be interviewing women who inspire and asking why she does what she does. If you want full inspiration, then why not hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out? And if you'd like even more information, then why not head over to my website at consultancyandcoaching.co.uk. Here you'll find lots of wonderful freebies that'll help you make the progress you desire. Now, let's get started. Hello, Emma, and welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today and for offering some Monday morning motivation.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So tell us who you are and what you do.
So I'm Emma Ward on Facebook, but Emma Cossey everywhere else. And I run the Freelance Lifestyle, which is a blog, a podcast and a coaching service specifically for freelancers. And I live in leafy Bretton Forest with my husband and my little boy.
Oh, lovely. So what was the driving force behind you setting up the Freelance Lifestyle?
So I have been freelance for 10 years now. And when I first became freelance, I didn't even know what freelancing was. And then I was very overwhelmed by all the information out there, a lot of it in very hard to understand language, lots of corporate speak and government speak and everything like that. And it made me realise that I wanted to create resources for people who wanted to go freelance to make it less overwhelming, more accessible, especially as a lot of the people I work with are introverts and they need something that's a bit more kind of friendly and warm and sensitive. And that's where I came up with the whole idea. It started as a blog and then I created a podcast. And then about 4 years ago, I trained as a coach as well to be able to further support freelancers because we're so often on our own, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't have some kind of support. So that's kind of where it all started, just to create great resources for freelancers.
It sounds really fabulous. I mean, when you first starting out in business or even just generally in life, there's just so much information out there. And, that's the good thing on one hand, that everything you want to know you can find on Facebook, but on the internet, but equally you can find the right answers and the wrong answers, and it's really hard to know which is the right thing. But also it's just so time consuming, searching it all out, finding the right resources that you can trust and follow, and as you say, that are in your language. So what kind of challenges have you found along the way? Business is fraught, isn't it, with ups and downs and many lows. So tell us about some that you've come across, Emma.
So there's kind of all the freelance classics. If you're playing freelance bingo, there's the feast and famine cycle. That's always an interesting one when certain periods of time are busier than others, and sometimes you're riding high with a fantastic client that's paying lots, and then that contract ends and then you're panicking. And I do a lot around making pitching and finding new work easier with lots of small tasks. But for me, the money side has never come naturally, and it takes a lot of work and a lovely accountant to keep me on top of it. I'm actually not a naturally organised person at all, but I have a lot of processes in place now that work for me that never worked in a corporate setting, but work really well for me now. So that was definitely a struggle. I think probably the fact that you can't really coast that much as a freelancer is challenging, but the flexibility and the ability to build a career around your life rather than a life around your career is one thing that it's the one thing I absolutely love. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure to be like a 6-figure business and this amazing thing, but a lot of the freelancers I deal with, they just want to be comfortable, have time to do hobbies or anything like that, be in control of their career and enjoy what they do. And because a lot of them are introverts, not be in an office environment, those are kind of more motivators for them than kind of these huge aspirational ones that kind of scare people off a little bit, I think. So yeah, but I think some of the challenges are the ones that everybody faces, which is finding clients, dealing with the money side of putting aside your tax and your national insurance and everything like that. Yeah, and I think just geeing yourself up a little bit when things get difficult, which is why it's so great to have communities. We're both in a community together, and I think having those communities is so vital.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it's really interesting what you say. And I'm really interested in what you said about kind of like setting up the systems that work for you as a self-employed business owner, but didn't work for you in the corporate place. And also what you said about kind of like the six-figure dream, you know, that the internet is full of these kind of like follow my process and, you know, make six figures overnight. And, you know, the fact is that might be possible, but most of us just don't want to actually do what it takes to get there. You know, we're not prepared to sacrifice the things that actually make us tick and actually fulfill us in our lives to actually get there. But we do want a business that actually does make money. And, you know, it's a brave decision, kind of like making that decision to actually go on your own, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually a lot of the people that I deal with, a lot of freelancers that are in my community are people who have families, young families, or there's a lot of people there with chronic illnesses and have to work around that, or maybe mental health challenges, and they need to be able to have something that's flexible with that. So I think flexibility more than that six-figure dream is more important for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we all still want to be able to earn a decent amount, but there's not quite that pressure in there really.
Yeah. So was there ever a time since you've been doing this that you ever felt like really giving up, that that the challenges got so bad that you thought, I just can't handle it anymore and I want to give it up?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting time because I've seen it happen to others in my community and myself. And I always find that period of time when you're like, oh, it's just too hard. Should I just get a 9 to 5 where I can just clock off and I don't have to worry about it? And nearly always just after that, say a week or so later, an amazing opportunity comes along. And I think have you read The Big Leap?
Yeah, I love that book. Amazing book.
And now I think it's kind of made me realise that often those rock bottom moments are actually an upper limit, which probably need to explain it a bit more to your to those who haven't read it. But it's all about how when you hit an upper limit, you can self-sabotage and other things seem to happen and technical problems and all sorts of things, and it just makes you want to give up. But actually just the other side of that is something amazing. And I think having gone through those moments ever so often, which I think everybody, even those in normal traditional careers, everyone goes through them, but just the other side is something amazing. And I see it time and time again in my community where people have been like, oh, I think I just need to look for a job, or I've been job searching and then this opportunity came along. And it's funny, it always happens. So I think telling yourself there's something amazing on the other side, but equally there's no shame in occasionally looking at the other options. So I had 2 opportunities where I went and I went for a job in the industry that I'm in, which one was a training opportunity and one was working with a university. And so for 6 months for each of those, I went and did a traditional job, but on part-time hours, and I still did a bit of freelancing around them. And it was nice to have that break, but by the end of that 6 months, I was desperate to get back to freelancing. So it's not, the joy of freelancing is it's not the end of the world if you want to go back into another job, whether it's for a few months or a few years and then you come back to freelancing. It's not, you once you go freelance, that's it, you're done. And I think people are a lot more flexible with their CV options as well. People don't expect a traditional CV anymore. So if you do have some freelance options on there, it just shows that you're capable and assertive and able to run your own business and that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't think there's any such thing as failure, just different paths and different ways of doing it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I know, I totally agree. And I was really interested that the stats show that generally with women, if women fail, they're more likely to go and look for another job. which is really interesting to me. But men, if they fail, they tend to just start again. So it's obviously something in our psyche and, you know, self-esteem that makes us doubt ourselves and see it as a failure, and maybe the stigma around that. But it's just an opportunity to learn, isn't it? And it's so true what you said about The Big Leap, and I absolutely love that book, and I've experienced it so many times myself, particularly over the last couple of years, where I've just got to a certain point. You know, you can feel the momentum building, and then you must obviously be sending out things that you don't even realize you are. One little thing after another happens, and you think, no, it's not, the time's not right yet. Not right. And it's just crazy. You just got to kind of like learn to recognize the signs and the symptoms, haven't you? And then get back on and keep.
And actually the fear underneath there is such a massive thing to be aware of, and working out why you've got that fear, where that fear's come from. Is it actually relevant, or is it an irrational fear? I think looking at that fear, and obviously there are some very, very rational fears. I'm not going to have enough money to pay the bills. That's a very rational fear. But the one thing I would say about freelancing, working for yourself, is there are always opportunities, and you can always find new clients. But it's going to be hard work, and sometimes that means emailing all of your contacts and seeing if there's any opportunities, or emailing your family and friends and asking them if they know of anything. Sometimes it's doing the slightly icky stuff, but there is always an opportunity, just whether you want to do it.
Yeah, and the beauty of freelancing to companies is just incredible, really, isn't it? Because it's so difficult, and you know, employing staff is kind of like one of the most costly things you can do in your business. So by utilizing freelancing services is such a cost-effective way for organizations that it's kind of a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we're following America's lead now. America are a lot more comfortable with freelancers.
Yeah.
And I still think there's a way to go. I think I still see universities and colleges not really sharing. And I'm actually starting to do some talks with universities, because I'm so passionate about teaching universities about freelancing as an option, because it's not seen as that. I wasn't taught about it. And I think it needs to be taught as an option, because I think there is a large group of society that is much better suited to freelancing than the traditional corporate world, but they are forced into a square hole as a round peg.
Yeah.
But, sorry, that's just a little rant from me about.
No, I totally agree. And I think that throughout every aspect of our lives, particularly schooling, you know, we've got to adapt and prepare people for the real world. And you know, the growth of freelancing isn't going to stop, you know, because it offers so many benefits, particularly in an arena where there's so many laws, regulations, added costs from the tax man, and different things for employers to consider when they are taking on full-time staff. And as you say, freelancing just gives so much to so many people, and it's not just about the amount you can earn, it's about being able to get what, to me, is the most important thing about being self-employed, that balance of life. So you know, living the life you love isn't just about doing the job you do, but being able to do everything else that fulfills you. Exactly. So Emma, tell me about your dreams as a child. We all kind of like dream about what we want to do and how we want to earn our living. Tell me about yours then.
I wanted to be a journalist, which I kind of, so when I first started out freelancing 10 years ago, I worked, I took on a couple of internships through Twitter, that I found on Twitter. And one was like an editorial assistant job. And that turned into a referral to someone else. And then I ended up for 2 or 3 years being her editorial assistant virtually. So I did it all from home. So I ended up doing a lot of writing, a lot of blogging, but basically a lot of journalism, online journalism. Now, I'm not trained, so I am hesitant to use the term journalism. But in a funny way, I have gone down that route, but just a more digital version. So yeah, it's a weird one really, but yeah, I love writing, and I don't do enough of it really, but yeah, in a funny way, I have gone down that route. So it was that or a pet shop owner.
Oh, really? And have you got pets, have you?
No, I'm actually terrible with pets. And
you need the pet shop then.
yeah. I don't know why I even went down that route, because I'm not even a massive pet fan. But I think I just had this. I think I had the littlest pet shop toys, and that was why.
I think it's really, really interesting, though, that when you look at kind of like your dreams, go back in time and look at your dreams that you had as a child.
Yeah.
Then, you know, once you've set up in business, you could go off onto all kinds of tangents if you've had a career. I know I did. I took loads of opportunities that kind of came my way, and they definitely, you could say in a lot of ways they weren't linked initially to my childhood dreams. But
Yeah.
when you set up in business and you kind of like find those tasks that you actually enjoy doing the most, you can generally see that there's a link back in some way to actually what you did dream of. So yeah, your writing, even your podcasting, it's all kind of about getting the message out there to the people, isn't it?
Yeah, and funny enough, when I was sort of 18, with some of my school friends, we all did a little time capsule thing, and we said what we wanted to do. And actually, I literally just remembered you saying that radio show was my one.
Oh,
so
really?
Podcast is pretty much what I've done. So yeah, but I think you're definitely right. And I think you saying about doing the different things. One of my favourite things about freelancing is basically like a career buffet. You can just try all these different things, and you're not pigeonholed. And I love that. I love the variety, and that I can be doing social media one day and coaching the next. It's fun, and it's always exciting.
I love that term, career buffet. So what does being the boss actually mean to you? What does it give you? What does it allow you to be and do?
This is going to sound like a tangent, but my values are freedom, flexibility, now I can't remember, control, as in control of my situation, and fun. And freelancing allows me to have all of those in my life. I always, whenever I worked in a corporate job, so I worked in HR and recruitment before this, both of which I was terrible at. But a large part of it is because I just didn't fit into an office environment. Yeah. I definitely, as an introvert, found it very challenging, whereas working from home means I'm working in my absolute element. You know, I'm able to focus, I'm able to be productive, I'm able to still go out and meet people when I want to and work with people, but I work on things that I'm passionate about. It basically allows me to create the exact, environment and routines and processes to be able to perform at my best. So being my own boss basically means that I'm able to build a life that really works for me. I'm not saying my life is perfect. My house is a tip. I probably should do with eating less cakes, and I have a tendency to speak before I think. But I feel like my levels of happiness is much better perhaps than those I know who are stuck in corporate jobs. I've got plenty who love their jobs as well, but my friends who are stuck in corporate jobs and I'm not sure where to go next, I guess, I don't know where I'm going with this, but essentially I like that I can tailor my career to my happiness, my basic happiness level and my family's basic happiness level, and that I've got that flexibility to work around them as well. Yeah. So that was a very roundabout answer, sorry.
No, it's just incredible though, isn't it? As you say, that you can just carve your job to suit yourself and the tasks that you do best to get the most satisfaction from. And it's very rare that you can actually do that in the corporate world.
Yeah.
For many of the jobs that are available, you know, that there's generally kind of like things that you like in the corporate job, but then you're so led by obviously the powers that be, strategy and so on, that it's just amazing really to be able to carve that. And so you just end up doing the bits that you like. I know there's always bits in your own business, you know.
Yeah.
People don't like budgeting, accounting, analysis, all those non-sexy parts of running.
But it's worth it. But it's worth it. And I think there's things I never realised about myself until I went self-employed. Like I never thought I was ambitious. I was never ambitious. I was just keep my head down, just keep going. And being freelance makes me a lot more ambitious because I have that room to grow, and I'm constantly doing personal development and learning, and I've found my passion for learning again through freelancing, something that had definitely died at university. And I now
You
I
can
love
learn
it.
in your own style, can't you? You can learn in your own way and
Yes,
at your own time, which makes a lot of difference.
that's exactly it. Yeah, definitely. And it's just, I could never go back to a 9 to 5. I think traditionally now, I
Yeah, I
think I'm
can't
too.
say.
Yeah, it'd be too difficult now. But
Nobody would have me as well, but
yeah, and I know it's a very privileged position to be in.
yeah.
But yeah, I could not imagine not being my own boss now.
Mm. I love what you said as well at the start, Emma, where you were talking about values. And I think, I've seen a lot on social media just recently about values. And I think it is just so important that you really work out what your values are. So whether you're in business or even if you're still in the corporate world, because you just get so much conflict when your values get abused by somebody else, or you're not spending your time meeting your own values. And it's really, really interesting to me that, I've kind of hit my glass ceiling in terms of going back to the big leap, just even in the last week or so. And I realized that one of the issues was the fact that something was conflicting with one of my values, and I hadn't really realized how important this particular value was to me. So kind of I'd set my top 5 values and now this one's jumped on the top. So so it is really, really important to kind of do that work, isn't it, and work out what it is that makes you tick, and accept that what is your value isn't necessarily somebody else's, and that's okay. We don't have to follow, even if that person is really super successful and so on. It doesn't matter if their values are different to yours. Stick with yours. Don't just feel you've got to follow what's important to somebody else.
But I also think it's actually really useful to know your values and know the values of those around you. So I find it really useful with my husband. If I know his values and he knows mine, if we're clashing on something, and it doesn't happen very often, but if we're clashing, usually it's because 2 of our values are clashing. Once we realise that, it's much easier to work around it. And the same goes for, say, if you're taking on a VA or something like that, understanding their values a little bit will make it much easier to create a harmonious working relationship.
And actually make the choice, the selection of what VA to use easier, because there are a lot of VAs out there now, and you can, on paper, a lot of them can look the same, but start talking to them and find people who reflect your values, and it is so much easier. Quite often you just get a gut instinct, don't you? You're not quite sure what that gut instinct is telling you, but if you can learn to follow your gut as much as anything, it's
the gut is everything as someone who's self-employed.
So Emma, we've already talked about kind of like the challenges you find in business, and the times that you go through and you think, oh my goodness, I just want to give this up. What kind of tips would you give to anybody who's already in business and kind of on that edge where they're thinking, or should I give this up? Should I persevere? What kind of advice or tips would you offer them?
So the first thing is, don't make any drastic decisions, because there could be so many reasons behind feeling like that. And it could be all sorts of, like, for me personally, I know there are certain times, and it's going to sound like I'm saying, don't make any decisions when you're in a period. But essentially, there are parts of my cycle when I am low energy and low enthusiasm. And it's really, really important at those times to not make any drastic decisions, because it's not coming from the right place. So it's really useful to know your cycle, to know kind of if there are times of the month when you are feeling lower than not. But I would say, don't make a drastic decision. Talk to somebody. That is so, so important. Don't get stuck in your own head. And I don't think sometimes we realise this as self-employed women, or just generally being our own bosses, how easy it is to get stuck in your head until you have a conversation with someone, and then it can all come out. And once it's out there, sometimes you go, oh, that's not rational at all. Or I don't even think I believe that, but it's been in my head, like that chimp in my brain. So definitely talk to somebody. And it's quite useful then to look at things like coaching, but also just any community you're in, brain dump there. And then look at 3 things that you can do to take action now, to change your current situation. So if it is, and I think the most common reason people get to that point is either a difficult client or not enough clients, in which case what are 3 things you can do today to find new clients? So is that sending an email to your family and friends, telling them what you do and asking if they have anyone who they could refer? Is that posting on LinkedIn? Is that booking yourself onto a networking event? What are 3 things you can do that can take action? Because taking action means you can take back control of that situation. Quite often it's a feeling of not having control that's stressing people out and wanting to quit more than anything else.
Yeah, no, that's just so true, isn't it? And you just instantly feel so much better the minute you've taken it can be the smallest step, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting the momentum going again.
Yeah. So, and then if there's people who are listening who are still caught up in their 9-to-5 corporate jobs, what kind of tips and advice would you give them if they're kind of considering moving into self-employment? They've got a business idea ticking away in their minds, but they're umming and ahhing about whether to make the big leap. What advice would you give to them?
I mean, I think the first thing is plan it out. So I do a 30 days to go freelance course, and one of the first things we do is sit down, plan it out. What do you want to achieve? How do you have to do it? What resources do you need? How much money are you going to have to save before you make that leap? Who do you need help from? Do you need any resources at home and things like that? Really plan it out in detail before you do anything. And then if you are thinking about making the jump, try and have ideally 3 months of savings aside that will cover your bills and your mortgage or rent or whatever it is. So that's a really kind of practical one. And do some market research as well, because quite often I see people making a jump. They've not done any market research to see whether it's a viable idea. So even if it's a survey that you just send out to your friends and family, or the kind of people that you think would be ideal, or dropping them a message and asking to interview them, anything like that. Do your market research before you make the jump. But I say that as somebody who has left their job with no savings, nothing, just on a gut instinct, because I need the fear, but it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm a bit of a planning geek, I have to say, so I totally agree with everything you said about that. And quite often when I meet entrepreneurs or small business owners, the obstacle that they're trying to overcome is just because they haven't taken that time to plan it out in advance. You've got to kind of like be able to have that sixth sense and vision, haven't you, to kind of like predict what might happen. So all those fears that you've got in your own head, when you're sitting down and you're getting them on paper and you're trying to rationalize them, is, well, what if this happens, what will I do, and so on. So but it's amazing to be able to encourage other people to come and do their own thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not for everybody, but I think if you're going in it just to make money, it's not right for you. But I think if you're going in it to change lots of areas of your life, then it is a great option.
And you've got a driving passion, I think, that you really want to do something. And a lot of the people that I work with, they've got to the stage where they're just, they've worked hard all their lives and, kind of like looked after their families. So they've probably got a family slightly older than yours. And but they've got to the stage where they just think, I want to do something for me. I want, follow my passion and my hobbies and interests. And I think that's just really fabulous that they can get to that stage and, at least spend a good part of their lives doing something that they truly love.
Exactly.
So Emma, what's next for you and your business?
So I'll be opening the doors to my freelance business lounge in a few weeks. So that opens 4 times a year. I'm also organising a Christmas dinner for freelancers. So if you if you're in the Bracknell Reading area, just message me. I'm going to be arranging that very soon, but also encouraging other people to organise Christmas lunches, because we miss out completely, don't we, otherwise?
The dreaded corporate Christmas party.
I know, there won't be Barry from accounts there anymore, so it'll be fine. It'll just be fun freelancers, all having a bit of Christmas dinner. And then I'm still carrying on with my coaching, so I do one-to-one coaching for freelancers. So that's my main priorities at the moment.
And if people want to get more information about your membership club, as you're going to be opening the doors very soon, and your one-to-one coaching, where can they find more about you?
The best place to go is freelancelifestyle.co.uk. So that's where you can find the blog, podcast, details of the Freelance Business Lounge and my coaching.
Okay, so be sure to visit Emma at freelancelifestyle.co.uk and get all of her information and sign up for her podcasts and follow her blogs. So Emma, thank you so much for your time today. Really, really enjoyed talking to you. It's been a great pleasure. And thank you to everybody who's listened in today.
Thanks for having me. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Pleasure. Yeah, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this episode, which I sincerely hope you found both beneficial and enjoyable. Now, don't forget to head over to my website at consultancyandcoaching.co.uk and download the freebies there. Stay tuned for the next episode. Now go out there and create great success.